Welcome back to another NOVA case study. For today, we're going all the way over to Virginia, where their forestry department is using drones for some really cool stuff. How the Virginia Department of Forestry uses drones in wildfire response. The Virginia Department of Forestry does not approach drones as a technology initiative. For personnel using them in the field, the value is far more practical. In active fire environments, where decisions are made quickly and conditions can shift within hours, the real challenge is often not collecting information, but making that information usable for the people responsible for responding on the ground. For Bill Perry, area forester with the Virginia Department of Forestry, that distinction matters. Perry has spent more than 2 decades with the agency and entered drone operations only within the last several years. Unlike the stereotype often associated with drone programs, he does not describe himself as a technology-focused person. His interest came from operations, specifically from finding ways to provide crews with information that helps them work more effectively in difficult conditions. There are a lot of people in the drone industry that aren't really tech guys. They're just someone that realizes the importance of getting a camera, especially one that's, thermal imaging camera, in the air to be able to find hot spots or cold spots or look for missing persons or suspects, depending on what they're using it for. There's a lot of guys that will fully admit that, hey, I'm not a techie guy. I just really see the use in this. So Bill, don't worry, you're not the only one. The challenge of seeing what's happening on the ground. In wildfire operations, crews are frequently forced to make decisions with limited visibility. Fire behavior changes overnight. Hotspots remain hidden beneath vegetation or debris. Ground personnel may spend hours walking containment lines trying to identify areas that still hold heat. Anytime I think I need to walk a block, I stop and ask whether the drone can do it instead. This is something that I've really found use for in my own area where I'm using drones for firefighting. Having guys to be able to walk the perimeters and look for hot spots is great. Getting that thermal imaging camera in the air and being able to find those hot spots, as well as figure out whether the heat is increasing or decreasing, how big or how small the spots are, and whether they're going to be a threat to vegetation, meaning it's on the perimeter versus completely in the black. Being able to figure that all out with a drone is incredible. And this is exactly what Mr. Bill Perry is doing with all of this information. Is instead of having to exert yourself, instead of having to burn your guys out, being able to get that drone in the air and get that information faster and more efficiently is everything that we are about here at NOVA. During periods of elevated fire activity, multiple incidents may be unfolding simultaneously, placing additional pressure on personnel responsible for coordination and suppression efforts. For agencies like the Virginia Department of Forestry, aerial infrared mapping has become one way to reduce that uncertainty. Perry describes periods during peak burn season where crews may conduct multiple aerial ignition operations in a single week across different regions of the state. At the same time, wildfire personnel are balancing prescribed fire operations, initial attack responsibilities, mop-up coordination, and ongoing forestry management work. Drone operations are often layered into existing responsibilities rather than functioning as a standalone position. In Perry's case, drone work remains collateral duty alongside his broader operational role as area forester. That reality influences how aerial data is used. The goal is not producing imagery for its own sake. It is producing information that crews can act on quickly. Now, this drone right here is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We use drones, not me, the royal we, as in, various different forestry departments, CAL FIRE, a couple different other agencies around here, use drones like this. And I keep trying to get tagged along with them so I can do some footage of them, because these things are so cool. I mean, fire dispensing drones that are being used for prescribed burns to keep horrific wildfires from starting. That is really cool stuff. One recurring challenge in wildfire response is ensuring that information gathered from aerial operations reaches the people who need it in a usable format. Perry explained that his workflow centers around exporting infrared hotspots and fire perimeters into sharing mapping environments so personnel across the agency can access them in real time. Rather than relying solely on static reports or verbal updates, these shared maps provide a common operational picture that supports decision-making across different roles and jurisdictions. That information becomes especially valuable during transitions between operational periods. Yeah, that's one of the great things about NOVA too, is you're able to make maps whenever you want to and have that kind of timeline of how a fire is spreading, and then have it so it's in such an easily shared format that anyone in your workspace can come and see it in real time, and you can always just generate a QR code or invite someone to your workspace so that they have all the information that you've gathered to pass on when it's your turn to rotate off the line and rotate them in. In a series of railroad fires caused by sparks from a passing train, aerial infrared mapping was conducted following overnight fire activity. Perry had initially worked the fire as a dozer operator during suppression efforts, before returning the next morning to conduct infrared flights and create hotspot maps for incoming crews. The resulting data was then shared with the task force leaders responsible for mop-up operations. The importance of those maps became clear when infrared imagery identified isolated heat sources outside the primary fire perimeter, including burning railroad ties that had been scratched in by local fire departments but were not part of the tracked fire area. Without hotspot mapping, these areas may have not been revisited, as they sat outside the assumed operational footprint. That is definitely one of the things that I'm always using drones for on our own fires, and especially if there's a lot of ember wash, where the fire is creating burning particles that go way outside where you think you have it contained. Those can sit there and smoke and smolder for quite some time and then reignite hours, days, in really rare times, weeks later. Being able to find those hot spots before they can reignite and cause a fire when you don't have a bunch of people there to suppress it is incredibly important. And this right here shows exactly what Nova does, what it's so great for. Being able to fly a hotspot map that you can then geolocate exactly where every single one of those smoldering logs is, and get you guys out there to put them out, even if it's not showing a lot of heat. There's plenty of hotspots that you won't be able to see really any smoke coming off of them, or maybe just the tiniest bit of a smolder, but the infrared camera will pick up on them, and with Nova's mapping services, it'll lead you right to them. For crews on the ground, that kind of information changes how work is prioritized. Rather than searching large areas without context, personnel can focus attention on locations most likely to create future problems. Perry noted that while his crews may not necessarily navigate directly from hotspot to hotspot, the mapping provides guidance that helps determine where to concentrate time and resources. The broader value is not simply identifying heat, but improving coordination across teams working the same incident. Wildfire response involves multiple layers of responsibility: field crews, dozer operators, incident leadership, regional foresters, and cooperating agencies. Each group depends on timely information, but each uses that information differently. Perry routinely shares generated maps with leadership personnel, including regional supervisors, as the data provides operational awareness beyond the immediate fire line. While wildfire response is the most visible application of drone use within the Virginia Department of Forestry, it is not the most common. The agency has also incorporated drone operations into broader forestry management work. Perry described using aerial mapping to support acreage determination for herbicide treatments, reforestation planning, and cost-share programs on private lands. Accurate acreage measurements are essential, as the state forestry programs may cover a substantial portion of treatment and planting costs for landowners. Drone mapping has also been used following severe weather events to assess timber damage in areas where ground access would require significant time and physical effort. Following an ice storm, aerial imagery helped personnel evaluate whether damaged stands were salvageable without requiring crews to navigate dense debris and overgrown vegetation. In many of these situations, the decision is simple. If the information can be gathered from the air, it reduces the need to put personnel on the ground unnecessarily. This rings really true to me, because as you've seen with several of our other videos on the Nova channel, there are a lot of different things you can do with the mapping software, with the hotspot mapping, the thermal imaging camera as a whole. The possibilities are endless. There are so many different jobs that drones can significantly help out with. You just gotta have a little imagination. Perry summarized his perspective simply. The purpose is not to use drones for the sake of using drones. The purpose is to make work easier for people in the field and provide information that helps them make better decisions. That philosophy reflects a broader shift occurring within emergency response and forestry operations. The most valuable operational improvements are often the least dramatic. They are small improvements that help crews understand conditions more clearly, prioritize work more effectively, and coordinate across teams with greater confidence. For the Virginia Department of Forestry, aerial mapping and infrared workflows are becoming part of that evolution, not as a replacement for operational experience, but as another tool supporting the people responsible for protecting landscapes and communities under increasingly demanding conditions. We are proud to continue supporting the Virginia Division of Forestry as a node in their aerial intelligence workflow. Thank you to Bill Perry for taking the time to sit down and talk about the incredibly successful program they have built. Thank you so much, Bill, for helping out with this whole case study. We are so happy to see how Nova is being used all across the world for multiple different things. When Nova was first built, it was just to find out hotspots, which is what they're using in Virginia, but they're also using it for so much more. And as Nova continues to grow, continues to get more tools on its belt, continues to be used in multiple different ways, it just makes us so happy to see it continue to grow. So thanks again, Bill. Thanks to the entire Virginia Department of Forestry for collabing with us on this case study. We can't wait to see how you keep using our tools, and as always, we're here to help you. If you're interested in trying out Nova for yourself or for your agency, no matter what it's for, please reach out to us. All the ways to contact us are in the description of this video. You can head to our website, you can shoot us an email, you can even give us a call if you want to. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this case study, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all of the cool news coming from Nova. Thank you all again so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.